I was once a broken man with nothing left.
Until the night a millionaire mocked a waitress and dared her to sing an opera aria.
Everyone laughed. But when she sang, the world seemed to stop.
That single moment started a journey of failure, love, betrayal, and success that would change my life forever.
I used to believe money made a man powerful. That belief was born in hunger. In a cold apartment, with cracked walls, and a single flickering bulb
that hummed through sleepless nights.
I worked 3 jobs. My hands smelled of grease, metal, and cheap soap. Every coin mattered.
But the world was not kind to a poor dreamer.
Investors laughed. Partners betrayed me.
One night, the company I built with years of sacrifice collapsed in a single meeting. My so-called friend signed the deal behind my back.
I walked out into the rain, with empty pockets,
and a chest full of quiet humiliation.
That was the night I met her. She was a waitress, in a small restaurant glowing with warm yellow light.
Her hands were gentle, but her eyes carried a strange strength.
I sat there staring at the table, feeling like a man already erased from the world. Then a loud voice cut through the room. A rich man. Expensive suit. Sharp smile. He looked at her and laughed. "Sing an opera aria," he said mockingly. "Perhaps I will make you famous." People chuckled. I felt anger rise in my chest. But she did not look angry. She simply stood still,
as if listening to something deep inside her heart. Then she inhaled slowly. The first note left her lips.
Soft, clear,
pure. And suddenly the room changed.
The laughter died. Forks stopped moving.
Even the arrogant man slowly lowered his glass. Her voice was not just music. It carried pain,
discipline, years of unseen sacrifice. When she finished, silence filled the room like a held breath. Later that night,
I asked her why she kept working here.
With a voice like that,
she smiled gently.
"Dreams require patience," she said.
Those words stayed with me. She became the quiet strength beside me.
When I started again from nothing, when banks rejected me,
when investors doubted me, she reminded me that failure was not humiliation.
It was training. Years passed. Long nights. Risk after risk.
Until the company grew beyond anything I imagined. The velvet curtain lifted slowly. Golden light spilled across the grand stage,
like sunrise over polished marble.
Thousands of faces waited in silence. I stood in the shadows behind her, my heart beating harder than any boardroom negotiation
I had ever faced. She looked calm. The same quiet strength
I had seen years ago
in that small restaurant.
But I knew the truth hidden behind her composure. The world believed tonight was her triumph. They did not know how close we had come
to losing everything again. 2 weeks earlier, a letter arrived. Cold, official,
cruel. The concert organizers had replaced her.
A younger singer,
a rising star with powerful sponsors.
Politics, money, connections. The same forces that once destroyed my first company. I felt the old anger return. Sharp, burning, familiar. I offered to fight them with lawyers, with influence, with the power my success now carried. But she stopped me. Her hand rested gently on mine.
"No," she said softly. Her voice carried the same wisdom.
"That once saved me from surrender. If a dream needs power to survive,
it is not a real dream."
So she kept practicing. Every morning before sunrise. Every night after the city fell asleep.
Her voice filling our quiet home, like a prayer rising through darkness. Still, the organizers refused. Until yesterday. The young star they chose suddenly lost her voice. Panic spread through the concert hall. Sponsors called. Tickets were sold. The audience was already arriving. And suddenly, the woman they rejected became their only hope. They called her at midnight. No apology. Just desperation. She simply smiled. And said yes. Now she stood beneath the stage lights. Her white gown glowing softly. Like calm before a storm. The orchestra lifted their instruments. The conductor raised his hand. And as the first trembling notes of the aria began, she closed her eyes. While I noticed something in the front row. A face I never expected to see again. The man who once betrayed me. The man who stole my first company. Was sitting there. Watching her. With a strange, uneasy expression. His face had not changed much. The same sharp jaw. The same calculating eyes. But tonight, something inside them looked different. Uncertain. I felt the old wound stir in my chest. Years had passed. Billions had been built. Yet betrayal has a strange memory. It does not disappear. It waits quietly beneath success. On stage, she opened her eyes. The orchestra breathed with her. Then the aria began. Her voice rose slowly. Like morning light touching a dark valley. Pure. Steady. Unafraid. The hall transformed. You could almost hear the audience holding their breath. Each note carried the weight of years. The early mornings. The rejection letters. The nights she practiced until her voice trembled with exhaustion. I remembered our small apartment. The cracked kitchen table. Where business plans and sheet music shared the same worn surface. She believed in discipline the way I believed in ambition. And together, those two forces built something stronger than luck. Her voice climbed higher. Stronger now. The orchestra followed her like a rising tide. I glanced again at the front row. The man who betrayed me was leaning forward. His hands clasped tightly. For the first time, he did not look powerful. He looked small. Then something unexpected happened. As her voice reached the most difficult passage of the aria, it faltered. Just for a moment. A fragile crack in the sound. The orchestra hesitated. The conductor's eyes widened slightly. A ripple of tension moved through the audience. I felt my heart drop. Years of discipline. Years of sacrifice. Balanced on one fragile breath. Her hand trembled slightly at her side. I knew that tremble. It was not fear of failure. It was pain. The same pain she had hidden for months. The doctors warned her that the strain on her voice could become permanent. But she never told the world. She only told me one quiet night. While the city lights glowed beyond our window. If my voice breaks one day, she said gently. I want it to break while I am singing for something meaningful. Now the entire concert hall waited. As she stood there. Between silence. And the next note. The silence stretched across the hall. Thin. Fragile. Like glass about to crack. Thousands of people waited. The orchestra held their breath. I could see the conductor's hand frozen in the air. Uncertain whether to continue. Or surrender to the moment. She stood perfectly still. Her eyes closed again. For a second. I feared the doctors were right. That the strain had finally taken her voice. Memories rushed through me. The morning she woke before dawn. Tea steaming in the quiet kitchen. The soft scales drifting through our apartment. While the city outside was still half asleep. The nights when exhaustion bent her shoulders.
Yet she practiced again. Because discipline meant love to her. Not love for applause. Love for the craft. Then she opened her eyes. And I saw something there. That I had seen only once before. The night we rebuilt our lives from nothing. Determination. Not loud. Not dramatic. Quiet. Unbreakable. She lifted her chin slightly. The orchestra watched her carefully now. Like sailors waiting for a signal in deep water. Then the next note arrived. Soft at first. But steady. Stronger with every breath. Relief moved through the hall like warm wind. The conductor guided the orchestra forward again. Violins rising gently beneath her voice. And suddenly, the aria transformed. What had been perfect before became something deeper. Raw. Human. Each note carried the trace of struggle. Like sunlight after a storm. I glanced again at the front row. The man who betrayed me had tears in his eyes. Real tears. The kind no pride can hide. Then slowly, almost hesitantly, he stood up. Not clapping. Not smiling. Just standing there. Watching her sing. As if the music had reached a place inside him. That years of success and ambition had never touched. And in that strange moment, I realized something unexpected. The story unfolding tonight was not only changing her life, or mine, it was beginning to change his as well. The final note floated into the air. Soft, bright, and impossibly pure. For a heartbeat, the grand hall remained silent. Then the sound arrived. Applause. Not the polite applause of society. A storm of hands. Thousands of people rising to their feet. As if the music had lifted them all together. I felt my chest tighten. Years of struggle. Failures. Empty bank accounts. Long nights of doubt. All seemed to gather inside that single moment. She stood beneath the golden lights. Breathing slowly. Her eyes shining with quiet tears. Not tears of weakness. Tears of arrival. I walked toward the edge of the stage. Unable to remain in the shadows any longer. When she saw me, her smile appeared. The same gentle smile that once greeted a broken man in a small restaurant. But something unexpected happened. In the front row, the man who once betrayed me stepped forward. His confident posture was gone. He climbed the steps slowly, as if each step carried the weight of his past. Then he stopped before us. For the first time in all those years. His voice was humble. "I was wrong," he said quietly. The hall listened in stunned silence. I believed power came from taking. But tonight I saw what real strength looks like. He turned to her. "You sang with courage." Then he looked at me. "And you built success without losing your soul." He offered his hand. For a moment, old anger whispered inside my mind. But her hand touched mine gently. A silent reminder of everything she had taught me. So I shook his hand. Not for him. For the man I had become. Later that night, as the lights dimmed and the crowd faded, we stood together outside the concert hall. Cold night air. City lights glowing like quiet stars. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "I told you once," she said softly. "Dreams require patience." I smiled. Because now I finally understood the deeper truth. Success is not built only by ambition. It is built by love that refuses to give up. Wisdom that chooses kindness over revenge. And courage that continues singing. Even when the world expects silence.